Hello YouTube, this is Brian Tubbs coming at you with another video. Today I'm working on the dance again. Just a continuation of the last video that I shot yesterday. I'm in the polishing stages now of the piece. Again, it's all stainless steel, and it's kind of shaped like this. This is the head, the arms, the rear leg, the front leg, and toe. So it's dancing in a sense. So I went through the polishing steps in the last video, what I was using anyway. But I'll go through it again. Let me see. Yeah, the first bit I went through was a 60. So I went from a flat disc, which was a 36 grit, to knock off the welds that are on the edges. So I went from a flat 36, then I went to a 40, then I went to a 60 flap disc, and then I went to an 80 flap disc, then I went to a 120 flap disc, and then after that I went from a 120 flap disc to a coarse brown disc, which is about 120, maybe just a little bit finer than 120. It's by CGW, the part number 70120, and it's just a coarse brown disc. So I knocked the 120 marks out with this one, and then I went from coarse brown to maroon, which is a little medium coarse, a little less coarse than the brown, and this part number 70122, and that's they're flat disc, but they're like a Scotch Brite. So that knocks the coarse brown scratches out with the maroon. And then after I used the maroon, I went to a blue Scotch Brite flat disc, part number 70189. That knocks the maroon grind marks or scratches out. So I'm taking it further and further and further down to get rid of the other grind marks and whatnot. And then after I use the blue, I go to black, which is more of a hard foam type disc. The number on the back is 2SF, 2S-F. And these are all CGW discs, and I use this to knock the blue scratches or swirl marks out from the grinding. And then I get to where we are now, which is the yellow. I'll go from the black foam CGW disc to this. It's a yellow denim disc. You can get them in yellow or white, even some come in blue. It's just a harder cotton pad. It's just more firm. And I use this yellow with my gray compound polish. You can get this compound polish at Harbor Freight or any place where you can buy polishing compounds. Automotive stores, but Harbor Freight you'll get it. It's the cheapest price, and it's just as good as the other more expensive compounds, for what I do anyway. So I use gray on my yellow pad with my, this is just a buffer. It goes from setting 1 up to 6, and I normally have it set on 4 so I don't get it too hot and it doesn't start burning the stainless steel, and it's easier to control. And then after I polish it or do my rough or first buff with the gray compound and the yellow pad, I'll switch over to my white softer pad, and I'll go to my green compound, polishing compound that I get from Harbor Freight. I also get this, which is green under all the black mess that's on there. It's the same green, but I got this from a guy who works over at the welding supply store. He used to be a polisher, a stainless steel polisher in Vegas for the casinos. They will make these large stainless steel, like guardrails and other, you know, the stuff that made the places beautiful. His company they would go in there and make it, and then he and his crew will come behind them and buff all the stainless steel to bring it to a mirror finish. And this is the compound they used. It's just green. Works no better than this stuff from Harbor Freight. This was more expensive. This is Harbor Freight. I haven't seen any difference in the compounds, but he just gave me a big chunk of it, and this was what's left of it. So what I'm going to do is just kind of go back over the piece with the gray. I went over it yesterday with the gray, got it to a point, and I had to put it away and go on to something else. But I'm gonna come back to it this morning with the gray, just to kind of show you guys how we do it, how it's done, how you buff stainless steel. All right, so I make sure I put my my coverall smock on. Make sure I have a face shield on, and I wear gloves, because when you're polishing or buffing with this stuff, it just flies everywhere. Just little pieces of it. I have it all over my smock. It just flies everywhere. So you want to protect your eyes for sure. All right. So inside of this tube, there's a stick like almost like lipstick or chapstick. And what you do is you just hold it in your hand, put this against your buffing wheel. As your buffing wheel is spinning, it'll burn some of this onto itself. Then you put this aside and you start buffing with it. So I'll give you guys a little view of how I do it. Get my gloves on. And again, I polished some of it yesterday with the gray, but just for the video, for you guys, I'm going to do it again because I want to go back over it again today anyway, just to get spots I missed, or just continue grinding in, get any fine scratches or whatnot out of the piece. All right, so it's going to be kind of loud. It's a buffer. It's not a angle grinder, which is even louder. This is just a buffer polisher. I have it set on 4, which is where I normally like it. 5 and 6 is just spins too fast, and it wants to pull you with it. 3 is, for me, is a little bit too slow. So I like right around 4 on average. All right, well, let me get started. Won't be doing a lot of talking because I'll be having talk over this, but Hopefully you guys will be able to see what it is I'm doing. I'm going to bring the camera down just a little bit to be sure you guys can see. Might not be able to see me that well, but you can see the piece. Alright. The only thing with this, you put them on your table, oftentimes they'll roll off the table. You'll be looking for it and it's on the floor somewhere. So I'll show you guys how I do it. Put my face shield down, turn it on. Alright, so just quickly, just to give you guys a little, as I normally do, give you a tip. But you know what? I'll wait till the end to give you the tip. But I'm going to just continue doing what I'm doing. One more time on this side. Then we'll flip it over and do the other side. And if you stick around to the end of the video, I'll give you a tip. Alright guys, so that's kind of the process of buffing. So what I'll do next is get a soft cloth, wipe the remainder of this compound off, because I've used the wheel enough to go over everything. Now what I'll do, before I wipe it off, I'll go and do this side again, and then I'll do in here this portion with the black again, and then after I do the black, as I said earlier, I will switch over to the green and do the finish buffing and polishing. And so what I'm going to do before I end the video, I'm going to show you guys kind of a neat, not a trick, but what to look for. But excuse me just 1 second, let me go grab another piece and I'm going to show you exactly what I'm talking. Hold on a second. Alright, I'm back. Now, this is the piece, dolphins. I made a video on making this a few videos ago. And this is the base. It's painted the base teal. It's a custom color that we make. And what I'm gonna there's something called Haze, H-A-Z-E, that you will see on stainless steel. Like when you walk up to it, it looks cloudy. Well, that's called haze. Well, with this piece, there's some haze in it, but you have to look at it from a certain direction in order to see it. And the thing that causes haze, now this is all stainless steel, everything is stainless, bases, everything is stainless steel. The thing that causes haze is if I buff sideways and you look at it. So if I buff horizontally and I look at it vertically, I'll see haze. So the best way to do it is to buff vertically as much as you possibly can, because when people look at your piece, they'll be most likely standing vertically. They're gonna look at your piece vertically. So they look at it vertically, and you polish it vertically, they won't see haze. They'll just see this beautiful mirror finish. The problem with this piece, I can go vertical here, and on the back side I can go vertical. But when I get into here, these setback areas of these little recessed areas, I can't go vertically because my wheel is hitting this piece and the edge of that piece. So I have to go horizontally in here. I have to lay my grinder. And what I mean by that, in order to get in here, I got to lay my grinder like this on that edge. That's polishing horizontally. So again, like I said, if I'm polishing horizontally and the person is standing vertically, looking vertically, they're going to see this white cloudy haze. They're going to be saying, what is that? So on this piece, I can't help but go horizontally, because again, I can't get in there vertically with this. But up here, I'm vertical. All the way around, I'm vertical. The top piece is the piece that people will look at most when they're looking at this piece. They'll look at the base and their eyes will, I guess, in art composition, you want to direct your viewers' eyes to where you want their eyes to go. So in this case, I want them to look at the base. They look at the pretty color of the base, the teal, and then this piece right here is going to draw their eye up, 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 all the way up to this piece right here. They will look at they will notice these pieces, but they really won't notice the haze because they're looking at this piece, which is this shiny, beautiful piece. This is shiny and beautiful, but there's just a little bit of cloudiness in there. I work hard to get the cloudiness off and out of there, but it's a process to do it. And on the back side, it's easier to go vertical because there's not as much recess on this side. I can go vertical up to this point, then I have to go on an angle here. So I'm vertical out here. Then in this section here, I have to go on a slight angle to get that. So when I say vertical and horizontal, you understand what I'm saying. Hold on one second, let me put this away. I don't want to scratch it. I just painted the base again. All right. The base on that piece, when I'm talking about the base, that is the 4th time I painted that base since I made the piece about a week ago. I taped off the stainless portion that I didn't want to paint, put a plastic over it and all that stuff, just to expose the base. Went through everything, polished, painted the base, got it nice and smooth and beautiful, clear coated the base. It was beautiful, just beautiful. And with that base, I have these grind marks going through it, so you can see the grind patterns coming up through the paint. That's an automotive paint, but it's like a translucent paint where you can see what's underneath. So I have these beautiful grind marks coming through. The piece is called Dolphins because they look like dolphins coming up out of water. The base is a teal because, you know, really nicely colored water in some regions are like a blue teal color. So that teal was just playing off of the dolphins, and the dolphins were playing off the teal. And so the first time I painted it, I put it under the heat lamps, painted another piece, and had it on a piece of board. Set the board on the table next to the dolphins piece. Took that piece that was on the board and turned it this way, clockwise. The edge of the board at the second piece I was painting touched the side of the dolphin's base and put a mark on the side of the base. So I let the thing dry under the heat lamps, the base, hoping that it would get hot enough that the clear coat would liquefy again and melt back in. Didn't work. So I went back later on the day, got sandpaper, sanded that edge down where the marks were, sanded it down good enough, brought it back out, took some clear coat, sprayed the clear coat on it, and the clear coat started bubbling because I took it directly from under the heat lamp, brought it out here, sprayed clear coat on it. The clear coat got so hot so fast and it dried and it just bubbled off. So I sprayed some on that side edge and on the top just to blend it. The top bubbled, the sides bubbled. So I had to come back out here, get some aircraft paint remover. I'll show you. This is what I'm talking about. So if you have paint that you want to get off quickly, you use this stuff with a paintbrush. Just brush it on there. After a couple of seconds, it'll start bubbling. Leave it on there maybe a minute. Get you a really soft, like a plastic scraper. Get the paint off. I'll take some like 409 or something like that and just clean it. Make sure I get all the old paint and grime and gunk off. Then I'll take wax and grease remover, wipe it down again. Then I'll get my torch. I'll get this torch. It's a MAP gas. You can use MAP gas or propane, same thing. And I just heat the piece, making sure I'm burning off all of this stuff, the 409, making sure I'm burning everything off. And then, after I do that, I'll get my my air hose and nozzle. Spray it, make sure there's no dust or lint on there. And then, after that, let me grab this. Hold on. Just to be even more safe, I'll grab a tack cloth. It's just a sticky cloth that is used in the automotive industry when they're getting ready to paint. You know, paint the body of the car. They'll take the tack cloths and just go all over the car. Make sure there's no lint, dust, any residue from the sanding. They just go over the whole car with a tack cloth. So I use a tack cloth on the base then. And then what I'll do, if I notice any lint left, I'll get my torch again and burn it off, because I don't want to touch it. Let me get one more thing so you guys can see when I'm talking, you'll know what I'm talking about. This is the wax and grease remover that I'm talking about. It's by Duplicolor. It's a cleaner, wax and grease remover. So when I'm working on a piece and I'm getting ready to paint it, I will take, after I've sanded and everything is smooth and it's ready to paint, I'll take wax and grease remover on a soft lint-free cloth, put some on the cloth, wipe the whole thing down, because that's getting any wax, any grease, any other chemicals, my fingerprint oil, it's getting everything off. So when I bring it out here and get ready to paint, then I'll do my torch, the tack cloth, I'll do all that stuff. Make sure there's no lint or grime or anything. Then I'll get my air hose, blow it off. And then, if it's a humid day or if it's been raining, I'll get my torch again and heat the piece starting from the base. And then once you heat it, you'll start seeing all this moisture in the metal start dissipating. So if I'm painting a full piece, I'll do the base and I'll go all the way up the piece, and you'll see that moisture inside of the metal that's locked in dissipate. So I'll get all that out, because if you don't get that out, you paint it and you're doing art shows and it's like moisture, really humid out, your piece can start rusting from underneath the paint because that moisture is still in there. Or your paint will start peeling in certain areas because of all the moisture in there. And so once I do all those things, which I did on the base of Dolphins, I sprayed it, I repainted it, and again I had a plastic bag over it. I had the blue tape, which is this blue painter's tape. I had this on it, wrapped around it, because I didn't want to get any of the paints onto the stainless steel upper portion. Sprayed it, came out beautifully. Clear coated it, took it inside because I wanted to show my wife how beautifully it came out. Put my hand on the tape to remove the tape so I can remove the bag. My pinky touched the base as I was taking the tape off. Left a pinky print on the edge of the top portion of the base, right on the edge. So I figured, okay, that's the clear coat. When I put it under the heat lamps, hopefully it would heat it up enough to solidify it and smooth it out again. It didn't work, but I didn't know it. Got to a show. It was a one-day show. We put it out. I didn't notice it. My wife noticed it. My little pinky print. Had to bring the darn thing back home. Just took it. Had to bring it back home. But this time I didn't have to take all the paint off. I was just able to get a maroon Scotch Brite in my hand and just started just kind of sanding it down, sanding the clear coat until I got to a point where I was even with the bottom of my pinky print. Then that took 20 minutes to do that, because I didn't want to break through the clear coat to the paint, because then I would have to repaint it again. I just wanted to get through the clear coat, maybe, I don't know, a few thou above the paint line. So I was able to do that without getting to the paint. I was able to get that fingerprint out. and then I just sprayed it again. So that, what you just saw, was hopefully the final finish. That's why I said, took it back inside. I didn't want to leave it out here and something bump it and scratch it or chip it again. But then there was another time in between that it got screwed up. So I had to paint it. That's like the 4th time. So hopefully I'm done with it. But the tip that I want to give you guys was the haze. So when I'm buffing like this piece, I want to go up vertically as much as I can. And on the front, inside, I want to go vertically, because there's a lot of surface area here, and the person's eyes will come from the base up to the top. But if there's not a haze, the eyes will stop at the haze. They won't get to the top. So that's why I'm going to buff this vertically as much as I can. And again, when you start polishing and you start seeing this cloudy haze, you will know that evidently at some point I started grinding sideways, horizontally. Because it's easier sometimes when you have a piece like this, it's easier to just go like this than it is to go up and try and follow the lines and all that stuff. So the tip is, when you're buffing, keep your wheel vertical as much as you can. I mean, you're going to, even if you go this way, side to side, keep your wheel vertical, as opposed to horizontal, going like this. Going like this is fine if people are going to be walking around looking at your pieces like this. They won't see the haze. But if they're up here and your lines are horizontal, they'll see haze and they'll be like, wow, what is that? They didn't know what they were doing. And they'll walk away. Alright guys, so once I get this finished up, mounted on the base, I'll shoot another video just to show you the finished product. And then I mentioned, I think in the last video that I did when I was doing this, I was going to be making a piece we call sails. 3 pieces stacked on top of each other, stainless steel on a pole, and they look like sails. But what I did this morning is, this is sails 1. We'll go with a 1/4 inch stainless steel rod that will go from the base to the top, and these will be wrapped on it kind of like this. They'll sit on the base, kind of sort of like that, going, I mean, on the pole going all the way up. We have one sail on the top and then one on the bottom. They'll be all twisted in different directions, so you can see something different from all directions. But what I did, since I'm going with it'll be a 3/8 thickness stainless steel rod this time, I made the piece bigger. So it went from this size to a little bit bigger. And when I put it on the stainless steel sheet, I might make it even a little bit larger than this, because I'm using a thicker rod. And when people see art pieces, they want to see some heft. They don't want to see this little tiny thing, because what I've found and learned from some of the world-renowned artists, some are still alive, some are dead and gone. They say when artists, when they're making pieces like we make, like tabletop pieces that go on top of a pedestal or something like that, when they make these little small pieces all the time, the art buyer collector, not in all cases, but in some cases, will think that that person does not have much confidence in themselves. So therefore they make these little tiny little pieces. But when you make larger pieces, the art buyer or collector will say, wow, that's a confident artist. even if I don't buy his piece right now, I'm going to follow him or her. Just watch. I'm just going to see what they make. Because if your pieces are not what they're looking for, they may not buy then, but they'll follow you. They'll see you in art shows, and if they see a piece they like, they'll buy it because they say, "Wow, this guy or this girl is confident. I'll buy from them." But the ones that are these little tiny little pieces, unless it's a really nice piece. Like I make some pieces this size, but a really nice piece, and people buy them like crazy. But if you're making, like I used to make motorcycles, little bobbers and whatnot, they're smaller. That's different. But when you're making stuff like this that's going to go in someone's house, you have these big wall, you have little tiny little thing, it'll get lost. People will walk away. So that's where I am today. I'm going to finish this piece up, mount it. In the next video, I'll be cutting out or grinding, wherever I am in the process, sails, just so you guys can kind of see what that is like and what I'm talking about when I'm talking about stacking them on top of each other and all that kind of stuff. Well, alright guys, that's going to do it for today. Hope you guys have a blessed remainder of your day, and I hope to see you on the next video. Again, this is Brian Tubbs. Talk to you soon. Peace out.